I hate myself, honestly. I just am so sad about this trip. It was just a very expensive mistake and a very miserable mistake to learn the hard way. I will never go back to Disney ever in my entire life. Hi guys, welcome back to the House of Hughes. You are in for quite the story time today. This video is not safe for Disney lovers. A few of you caught my live while we were in Florida in Disney World with Blakely, and you know that that trip was quite literally one of the worst decisions I have ever made as a mother. And when I say that it was a bad judgment call, you do not even know the half of it. This story literally deserves a dedicated video because I cannot believe the circumstances that happened in Florida. It was just so bad, and honestly, it's completely my fault. I was super naive and I just did not realize that the conditions were going to be the way that they were. I've already gone over all of the reasons that we decided to take Blakely to Disney World and leave Beckham at home with grandparents and our nanny. Beckham has a lot of things coming up that cause our life to be very Beckham oriented. We prioritize Beckham financially in our everyday life, and I thought that it would be amazing to take Blakely to Disney by herself, give her all of mom and dad's attention for a few days, and let me just tell you, I was so wrong. Honestly, the silver lining of this trip is that I had the foresight to leave Beckham at home because I did consider Beckham being stuck in a wheelchair, and going in September, I did expect it to be hot, but oh my word, you guys, I live in Utah. And your girl did not comprehend what 95 degrees and 60% humidity was going to feel like. The first mistake that we made, well, the whole entire thing was a mistake if I'm being honest, but the first mistake that we made was booking the trip at the time of year that we did. Like I said, we just went last week, and oh my word, you guys, it was so freaking hot. I'm not someone who's like super sensitive to heat. Like, I don't mind being outside when it's pretty hot outside if I'm laying by a pool. And honestly, we've done a few carnivals here locally, and Blakely had so much fun. Even though it was really hot, she had fun, and it just like was so different. It's just a different heat in Florida. Like, it is not the same as Utah because Utah is so dry and Florida is so humid. So the heat was just like wet and sticky, and my little Blakely, I felt so bad for her. It was just so hot, you guys. She could not handle standing in the lines, walking to and from each ride. And Disney World is more spread out, which originally I thought would be a good thing because of crowds, but it ended up being horrible because even though we rented a stroller while we were there, Blakely wanted us to hold her the entire time because she was just miserable. She was so hot, she was so uncomfortable, and I felt horrible. Like, I seriously felt like the worst mom. I just could not believe that I put her in that environment. Even though I had the purest of intentions, when I saw Blakely light up when we went to carnivals here locally, I thought that Disney World would be amazing, and it was just way too hot, the lines were too long, and it was way too spread out. Although I think one of the biggest mistakes was the time of year that we booked. Even if we booked at a better time of the year when it was a little bit cooler, Blakely just didn't fully comprehend the rides. I don't think she was as enthusiastic as I hoped she would be, and it was just too far of walks between each ride. It was way too spread out, and just sitting there waiting in line with nothing to do. She has a short attention span. She's not even 3. So Blakely was just way too young. Oh my word, if you are thinking about taking a child under the age of like 8 to Disney World, please don't do it. It is just way too young. They don't understand. They feel like they're just having to stand around and walk a lot, and the rides are so short compared to how long you have to wait in line. It's honestly not worth it. Now, I know that I'm not a Disney mom, so I might have done things like differently than maybe somebody else would have, but I just don't have the desire to go to the time and effort and spend the money to do everything like perfectly. I'm just not a Disney fanatic, and that's where I erred. Like, I am taking full accountability. This was my fault. I just did not understand what the environment was going to be like, and in my head it was going to be so fun and Blakely was going to be having the time of her life, but it ended up just being so miserable. Like I said, it was way too hot. We had passes for 4 days, and seriously, we were like an hour into the first day, and Hunter and I just looked at each other and we were like, what did we do? Honestly, I am just so happy to be home. I can't even tell you. And I haven't even gotten into the plane rides. Hunter and I knew that we made a mistake the second we entered the airport because my little Blakely, she didn't even want to walk through the airport, an air-conditioned airport. She was just like, honestly, a little lazy, but she's not even 3. She just wanted us to hold her or wanted to ride on top of the suitcases. So after we checked our bags, she was just like, what the heck? The Salt Lake City airport is also massive. But when we got to our seats, the plane ride there, it was fine, but she was just so busy. She had to be entertained like every second, didn't want to sit down, all of those things. So it was just exhausting, to be quite honest, and just not worth it because it was a 4-hour plane ride. And so when we found out that on the way back it was 4 hours and 50 minutes, we seriously had low-key a panic attack. Okay, it was like, oh my word, what are we gonna do? And by the time Disney was over, Blakely was so exhausted. She was so miserable because she was missing her naps every day in Disney. She also was sleeping in a foreign environment. Like I said, she was just so hot. We tried to keep her as hydrated as we possibly could, feed her as much as we could, but she just was so miserable. We knew that on the plane ride home, she was going to be so exhausted. We were like terrified of how she was going to behave, because honestly, at that point, like, I was not blaming her for 1 ounce of her behavior. She was in a horrific environment, completely against her will, basically, because that's what mom decided to do. And it was just awful. And so I really was just like, baby, you are a rock star. I'm so sorry you are going through this. We ended up bailing out of Disney like hours and hours earlier than our friends because it was just so miserable, honestly. The one thing Blakely did love doing is we had a pool at our Airbnb, so Hunter just swam with her in the pool every afternoon, and that was really good, but obviously something we could have done literally for free in Utah. And the fact that we were away from Beckham, spent so much money, I hate myself, honestly. I just am so sad about this trip. You guys were so sweet on the live. You were like, no, like, you had the best intentions, and like, thank you. It was just a very expensive mistake and a very miserable mistake to learn the hard way. To top it all off, we're literally waiting at our gate to fly home, and Hunter and I are just like, thank God we are headed home right now. And Blakely literally projectile vomits all over the floor while we're waiting for our gate. Like, you can't even make that shit up. And I was just like, oh my word, this poor little thing. Luckily, I think she just took like too big of a gulp of my water and it just like kind of choked her a little bit or something, because she didn't throw up at all after that, but we were terrified for the plane ride home. But honestly, she was so tired that she actually fell asleep before we even took off, which was such a blessing. She was such an angel on the plane ride home, and I just promised her getting off that plane, I said, baby, I will never make you do this. I will spend the rest of the year making this up to you. I am so sorry. I literally like wanted to kiss the ground when we entered our house. I will never go back to Disney ever in my entire life. Like, it just completely tarnished the entire experience for me. I promise that even if you comment below all the ways I could have done it better, it doesn't matter, because I will never go back to Disney. I will never go to Disney World. I will never go to Disneyland. We will do other things with our children, but we will not be doing Disney. We did not vibe with the crowds. We did not vibe with the food. We did not vibe with the weather. We didn't vibe with the rides. Like, it was a no for us. The one thing I feel absolutely horrible about is I really hope we didn't like tarnish the experience for our friends, but it was just a totally different situation. Their daughter was a lot older, and we were just like, whoa, bad move on our part. So we are just so grateful to be home. Blakely is caught up on sleep the past few days, and she's so much happier. It was so sad. She literally woke up the day after we got home and she literally said, no Disney World. Like, she did not want to go back. She was like terrified I was gonna take her there again. It was bad, you guys. Oh, it was bad. This video is probably all over the place, but seriously, I just need to like rant, because I feel so horrible. And I looked at Hunter and I just said, I cannot believe that I did this. Like, I know that I have flaws and I'm certainly an imperfect person, but one area that I have a lot of confidence is I know that I am a damn good mother. And let me just tell you, my freaking intuition was off on this one. This was the worst judgment call I've ever made as a mom. Literally, I've never made a mistake this big, specifically as a mother. So Blakely, I love you so much. When you watch this when you're older, I love you. I am so sorry. And mommy feels so bad. Thank you for everyone who was so sweet on our live, because I think I went live and was just like, yo, I need someone to talk to. I'm so miserable that I'm stuck in Florida right now. Also, Hunter was like deathly afraid of planes all of a sudden. He was having so much anxiety with us being on that flight, going through turbulence, and he was just so scared for Blakely and I. We were just like, we need a trip as a couple. We need to just do something, the two of us. It is just not worth it to us to take our kids on trips at this age. There's so many fun local things that we can do where they have a way better time, but we don't have to remove them from their environment. My kids don't do great being out of their environment. Not everyone's kids are like that, but I know my kids better than anyone. They don't do great at that. So we're gonna just keep them comfortable from now on. Another thing that I just like quickly want to touch on is that social media, you guys, isn't real. I have a lot of clips from Disney World where I could have totally made it seem like we had an amazing time. I could post all over my Instagram, all over my TikTok, all over YouTube, and just be like, oh yeah, we had the best time ever at Disney. Woohoo, this was so fun. And it was just little tiny glimpses of times when Blakely was happy and Hunter and I are like smiling, like, oh my gosh, how are we getting through this? It's not real. It's not real. And I just wanted to come on and be like, yo, I just had the worst freaking weekend of my life. Don't take your kids to Disney if they're really little, because nobody told me that. And all I saw across social media were people talking about doing trips with their kids and all this stuff. And I was feeling less than as a mom. I thought, oh my gosh, like I want to take Blakely to have this amazing experience. And you know what? I wish one person would have told me, Rachel, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Not that that's anyone's responsibility, but I do think it's important to talk about the fact that we have major FOMO and just a totally skewed version of reality because of social media. None of that is real. None of that is real. I looked around at every single toddler mom at Disney World, and let me just tell you, they were freaking miserable. They were so sad that they were there. Their kids were screaming, not having fun. And you know what? I bet they posted a picture on social media smiling happy, and that made someone at home feel like, oh my gosh, I wish I could afford to do that, or I wish I could take work off and do that, or I wish I would just do that. No, you don't. It is okay. Have so much fun playing in your living room with your kids in an environment that they're used to, and don't feel like you need to live up to these pressures that social media is putting on us. I know it's really hard. I feel like I was totally a victim to that, specifically with this trip. I saw a lot of my friends going on trips, and I do want to say, not everyone has a bad experience. I shouldn't generalize that. Like, I'm sure a lot of people love traveling with their kids, but in my hardest of hearts, deep down inside, I knew that my ass could not handle that. And you know what? It couldn't. I failed. I did not do well. Honestly, Blakely did better than mommy. And I just wish I didn't feel like I needed to like keep up with the Jones, with what I saw other families doing, if that makes sense. So that was a good lesson learned, an expensive lesson, but a good lesson learned. So we have a lot to look forward to. Today, Hunter's actually at his tattoo appointment. I think he just texted me. Oh, he did. Oh, he said I could sneak peek on my Instagram story. If you're not following me over on Insta, go follow me on Instagram and on TikTok, because I do a lot of like in the moment talking, showing you guys things. So if you want to like hang out with me all day, come join me over there. I'd love to have you. But we have so much to look forward to. Hunter's sleeve. We have Beckham's physical therapy treatment coming up, the intensive one that's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna go live every single day, so you guys can literally watch him in his intensive treatments. That is going to be so exciting. I'm so excited. I'm gonna vlog the whole thing on all platforms. We just have so much to look forward to, and no traveling. I'm happy to report that we will not be traveling for the foreseeable future. I love you guys. Thanks for letting me rant. Sorry, this is kind of like a random video, but I just had to update you guys on one hell of a Disney trip. Hopefully this video just saved one of you from a trip of trauma. But in all seriousness, I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next vlog. And of course, I want to remind you to be brave like Beckham. Bye, love you.